Hello, my name is Clyde Sharady, and welcome to this edition of the Clyde Sharady Show. I'm very happy to know that a lot more of you are watching the show, and we're very excited with the positive feedback that we are getting. We will continue to bring exceptional people onto this platform. We'll continue to talk about business, to talk about leadership, to talk about the mindset within our communities, Black excellence, spirituality. All of that is on the menu. And tonight I have with me a very special gentleman. His name is Reg Taruvinga. Reg, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you, Clyde, for having me this evening.
No worries.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir, comment ça va?
Ça va bien, merci et vous?
Très, très bien. All right. So a little bit of French. But before we go more into French, let me ask you, I know you are from Zimbabwe. What language do you speak in Zimbabwe?
Uh, in Zimbabwe, the main languages are Shona and Ndebele, and I speak both languages.
Or which one you speak the most? Or which one is your mother tongue?
Oh, my mother tongue is Ndebele. My mom is Ndebele, and my father's tongue is Shona. So I don't know
All
which
right.
one. But
You tell me how you say hi in both Ndebele and Shona.
in Shona is Moroi. In Ndebele is Linjani.
Moroi, Linjana. All right. I get that.
Linjani,
So
yeah.
whenever I meet a new Zimbabwean guy, I still have to work out who is Ndebele or Shona, but we'll worry
Just
about
just say just say either. They'll totally understand you.
good. All right. Reg, I know you are a business person. You came from a small town in Zimbabwe and went to South Africa and arrived in Australia. You're
Yeah.
doing quite well, seeing where you come from. But tell us a little bit more about yourself so people know a bit more about you.
Okay. So I was born in Harare, in a little township called Mbare, which is the oldest township in Zimbabwe, if I'm not mistaken, but definitely the oldest in Harare. I was born in a family of six, that is two boys and four girls, and I happened to be the second born. I went to a primary school called Narira, which is in Mbare. Then for my high school, I went to Alanuson, which was a technical high school that's in Harare, in the city there. Then I grew up in the Catholic Church. I was an altar boy from the time I was in year one of school and probably the last years of high school. Um, After high school, I went and did my apprenticeship, trained as an auto electrician for a company called Unifreight. That time, that was the University of Apprentices because they trained people. Their training regime was very good. So that's where I went my as a person, entering job market. I entered as an auto electrician. So after that, I worked for a few companies. Then I went on my own, started a business, auto electrical business with two other guys that was back in Zimbabwe. Then after that, because when we qualified, we were called journeymen.
Mm.
Surprisingly, we were called journeymen, or interestingly, we were called journeymen.
Where
So,
where does term come from? Journeyman. What does that mean?
well, it means you've started a journey as a tradesman.
Okay, I
So
see.
pretty much it means you're never gonna stop learning, and you gotta stretch yourself far and wide to
Okay.
learn as much as you can and to impact people. So that means there's a lot of call outs, breakdowns, and involved. So
Yeah.
going out there, meeting different people from different backgrounds and different cultures. Yeah.
All right. And then from Zimbabwe, you went to South Africa. What led you to leave Zimbabwe and go to South Africa before you came to Australia?
Like as a journeyman, you always I'm a very curious person. I've got a curious mind. So Definitely South Africa was appealing because they were technologically advanced, and when you get to a point where you feel like you have reached the ceiling of wherever you are, you pretty much know the ins and outs of most of the things that you're doing, and you're saying, "Oh, I'm still young, and I still have the zeal and the hunger to get more." I definitely wanted more
Mm.
for myself as a person and as a business person. The more you know, the better you are, and you stay focused and excited and motivated to work. So that's when I decided to join the trek down south. A lot of people were going to South Africa at that time for
Mm.
various reasons, and yeah, that's what led me to South Africa.
And then from South Africa to Australia. How, by the way, how long did you spend in South Africa before you came to Australia?
Lived in South Africa for 7 years, I think.
Hmm.
And by the time when I went to South Africa, I didn't straight away start a business, but I worked for someone else. Then after, I thought, maybe I'll have a go on my own because there were opportunities and the things. There was something lurking in the market in South Africa, so I thought, I'll just get in there and have a look. So I started my own business called Mushumo Waka, which
Mm.
is South African. I think it's Pedi or Northern Sotho, meaning my job. So that's when I started Mushumo Waka, auto electrical and mechanical.
All right. To speed things up, after South Africa, you came to Australia. Did you just decided that yeah you've had enough of South Africa and Australia was a better opportunity, or how that happened?
Yeah, same thing. Like you always you always looking for new opportunities and all that. And I've always had growing up, I used to watch the news, and they used to talk about this city called Perth. And
Mm.
I was a small boy, and we used to go and watch TV at the neighbor's house. So Perth has always been. I just got fascinated by the name, and I just didn't know exactly where they were. But then when growing up, I later found out that Perth is actually in Australia, and it has always been a name that stuck in my head and in my mind for that long. So yeah, then I thought, I might give it a go. I realized that they needed tradies, and yeah, my partner was here as well, so I thought, yeah, why not?
All right, cool. We know a little bit more about you. Now let's get into the first part of. I mean, that's the second part, really, after the introduction of this show, where we talk about news and current affairs. And I want to know your view. After that, and then we'll talk about your business and what you would like to be able to share tonight. Um, there is obviously the Olympics are happening. We see a lot of Afro athletes doing quite well. What that brings to your mind?
Um, it's actually quite inspiring to see the African athletes that are competing there. For a fact, for most African countries, for them to send even one athlete there, it's a lot of effort. Financial, we don't have that financial muscle, and the training facilities are still not up to scratch. And for the few privileged ones that manage to have the proper facilities, but for the majority, it's like people really, really digging deep into their resources, both financially and even the facilities to train. They are a bit fortunate; they can go and train overseas and all that. But for the majority of the people, they are pretty much training without the world class equipment, even to condition your body and all that. And even the the people, that much support. But to see them doing wonders, like the Sudanese team, they've done exceptionally well. They just were a bit unfortunate to be in a very tough group. And I'm also fascinated by the Morocco football team. They're now in the semifinals, which means they're almost guaranteed of a bronze medal from the teams that are left to play with. And along the way, they defeated some of the best teams in the world. Then my country, Zimbabwe, I know we've got one gold medal, I think, in swimming, Paige. Yeah, and over the years we have had Kirsty as well, 7 medals, 2 gold, 4 silver, 1 bronze. We've been doing well. So, and at the minute, South Africa is the highest achieving country in terms of numbers in of number
Africa.
of medals. So yeah.
Well, one thing that is quite evident is if you see how Africans are doing with the little means that you mentioned, the little resources they have, what that says is that if we had as enough resources, as much as what the teams in the developed countries have, we would definitely be a whole lot better and probably winning all, if not all, but
All the medals.
most of the
Yeah,
gold
yeah.
medals.
Now that's coming for sure. I'm a very positive person. I can see that coming. Yeah, especially with a platform like this, we're gonna definitely we're heading in the right direction. Content.
Absolutely. All right, that's good. It talks more. It tells us a bit more about the black excellence in sport, which is something that is obviously quite widely recognized. The second topic is we're talking about the SADC conference, the Southern African Development, is it Council or whatever that is? Can't remember that.
Commission. Yeah, yeah,
Commission.
yeah.
It is happening in Africa. What that inspires you?
So this is happening in Harare. It's
Yeah.
starting on the 17th of August. So in the past 3 months, we've seen the government trying to improve the infrastructure, the roads, and all that. It just reminded me when I was growing up, when you know we've got visitors coming, mom is up and about, running, clean this, put this away, put on your best clothes, go and get a shower and all that. So we as a people, we sort of need these sort of things to be propped up to do something for our own people. But and the other thing about it all is people have got different views and opinions about it, pretty much like a coin. You've got a tail and the heads, but I usually sit on the edge. Like I believe that a coin has got 3 sides, so I pretty much sit on in the middle. I look on both sides, heads and tails. Some
Yeah.
people are laughing because there are these small meetings that are happening, like business, energy, and that sort of stuff, and they've got like a little market that's going on there. So people with things to sell, they're actually loving it because they are networking and creating leads for the benefit of their businesses. I've seen a few people write on LinkedIn, inviting people to their stands and to see what they're actually selling. But others are just saying, "Oh, well, it's a political gimmick. Why should we do this, or why are we hosting it?" I see even South Africa, the DA is saying the summit shouldn't go ahead in Zimbabwe. But at the end of the day, we take the good and the good and the bad, the positives and the negative, the pros and the cons. So it's always good to sit in the middle. The 3 sides to a coin. There's always the head and the tail. So which one is more important? That's for people to. But as for me, I think for those that are benefiting for it, good on them.
Yeah, I suppose it is important for African countries to come together, and this SADC platform provides that economic integration opportunity for countries in the southern part of the African continent. It is a good thing. We understand there are issues with regards to politics in Zimbabwe and all that, and different people may see that different sides of the coin, but it is always a good thing because at least, as you mentioned, the city is being a bit cleaned, the Harare, and I remember the same thing happened in the Congo where I
Yeah.
come from about a year or so ago. Pope Benedict, or what's his name again? I can't even remember. He came to
Pope
town.
Francis. Yeah.
Pope Francis, that's right. Pope Francis came
Yeah.
to town, and the city was just really clean. It just unfortunately is very dirty. There's a lot of rubbish everywhere. But when he came, the authority did quite a lot of work to trying to clean it up, and that was a good thing. And some of my friends were saying maybe we should be inviting the Pope every 2 months.
Yeah,
that,
yeah, that's
that
true.
will be good. All right, now let's talk business. You are a business person. You have
Yeah.
a business in the auto electricity setting, but you also do something else. Tell us a little bit more about what you do in business.
Yeah. So when I came to Australia, because what led me to doing auto electrics was that I wanted to have my own auto electrical workshop. But then naturally as a person, I'm not really that sort of a person. But I had to learn to love it because of the service bit that I was providing to people, and I was also coaching other people that wanted to get into this sort of space. So after my own brother, who is, in my opinion, a natural mechanic, he is really cut for that. That comes to him like naturally. He doesn't even have to go to school for it. Whereas I had to go to school for it. So it's a skill that I got through training. But then there was something that was burning within me, which was more natural, that I felt that this is what God called me to do.
Mm,
Um, so that's when I started looking at what's out there. I am a people's person. I love to see people prosper. So being a person that learned to that started talking before they even started walking, I knew I had to be in a space where I inspire people, encourage people, coach people. Then I bumped into someone that introduced me to this concept called the disc. So the disc resonated with me because being African, in my part of the world, we've got these things that we call totems. We've got a certain group of people that identify themselves as lions. So that means the lion is the sort of their emblem, is the totem, is the thing that identifies. Then we've got some, like my mom, they identify themselves as the zebras. But I'm from the Rotary Empire, and the Rotary Empire, we use a very profound body part as our emblem or as our totem, which is the heart. So that made me realize that we've got different characteristics and different strengths and different callings and different ideas and ways of doing things. Hence, we others call themselves the Mofus, the Shumbas, the Moyos, and that sort of stuff. So much DISC is a personal or behavioral analysis that categorizes people into four main components, which make up the acronym DISC, DISC. So I did that. So now I'm a trainer in DISC.
okay. All right. We're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we're gonna dive into what DISC is all about and how people can actually benefit from it. So just don't go away. We'll be right back. Right. We're back, and Reg, let's dive into the DISC framework, the DISC system. It is all about, it's a behavioral analysis framework. Tell us a bit
Yeah.
more about it and how can people benefit from it. So it's an acronym. What does the D stand for?
So D stands for dominance. So the people with the D, they are very forceful, they are results oriented, they are firm, they are very strong willed, they've got this strong character with them. They're very much focused about the end result, not really much about the process, and they are very domineering. So when they rock up to you, they are right in your face, and you will know. Even if you ask them a question, you definitely know that's a D there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there is that sort of characteristic that is defined. I mean, that defines this type of people.
Yeah.
And then what's the next one?
The next one is the I, which is the influence. They are influencers. Influencers are people that are outgoing. They are very enthusiastic, very optimistic, high spirited, and very lively people. They are the people that love to talk. They are the hero of the party. When you hang around them, you have to be willing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
They are very lively, outgoing. They are in your face. They are like people that you mainly see in sales. You know, those sales people that are incessant, that talk, 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 talk. Those are the eyes. They are very influential and they want to drive their point home at all costs.
That's the second group. What's the third group?
That's the S. These are the steady people. These are even tempered. They are very accommodating, very patient, very humble, very, very tactful. They are very, very nice people to be around. They want to be accepted, so they'll always treat you with respect. They'll always want check out what you want to hear, and they will try and accommodate you as much as possible. They are very selfless. They put other people first. They want to make them happy, and they're usually very good leaders.
And then the last group.
They are the conscientiousness. They are the conforming one. These are people that are very analytical, very reserved, and very, very precise. 2 millimeters has to be 2 millimeters. There is no ifs or buts. The tie has to be straight. They are very private and very systematic. These are people that thrive on data and all that. So they lock themselves out in the room and will not bring out a product until it's 100% to the T. So these people are the ones that we usually see as accountants and quality controllers, those sort of people. The
Mm-hmm.
people that we call are very pedantic. If you walk in a room and everything is 2 centimeters apart from each other and everything is so precise and concise, just know a C has done it. So those are the four characteristics.
All right. So, what are the benefits of this? Why should we know this? How can this help people? And how do you help people with this behavioral analytical framework?
Analysis. So what happens now is when we are in a jungle, right? So it will be very sad for someone to not know to think that they are lion yet they're a monkey, or for someone to think that they're a crocodile yet they're a lizard. So people don't really reach their full potential because you are a lion that's being fed on grass. So what we basically do is we make you realize who you are, your strengths and your weaknesses. Then what makes it better for everyone is it creates a more conducive workplace culture because you know each and everybody's strengths and weaknesses. So when you communicate with each other, it's like you when the boss comes to address his workers, he's not going to give grass to a lion, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to give meat to a zebra. So if you don't know that you're a lion or a zebra, you're pretty much feeding on the wrong items. Even if the boss doesn't know that, oh, Clyde is a lion, so I need to give him a big chunk of impala or a zebra, then there is definitely a communication breakdown there. So what we then do is we make you realize that, look, these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses, and your workmate, because we've got this for teams. So then when when it comes to giving each other roles, you know exactly that this guy is got a strength in talking. You're not gonna lock him up in a room and tell him to balance the books, isn't it? You let
Mm.
him go out there and talk to the customers. Then there's this person that a document will not leave until he's gone through that document 55 times. You're not gonna send him out there to go and talk to a client. He's probably not gonna be able to do it because he's busy looking at the content that he's going to present to the customer. Then so then when you're giving each other roles in a workplace or in a business environment, it's very, very imperative to know the strength and the weaknesses. Even in a relationship like husband and wife, brother and sister. Brothers and sisters, you might have the same genetic makeup, but the setup is different. So one will come out as a receptive one. The other one will come up as a domineering character. But if you understand that this person is a domineering character, you're not gonna waste your time trying to give them a lot of information. They're more worried about the results. So then you know when you're talking to a D, you know what sort of content works for them. When you're talking to a C, you're not just gonna tell them you're going to the shops. You have to tell them everything. I'm going to the shops to buy 2 kgs of sugar and 15 loaves of bread, that sort of stuff, because that's the language that they understand without you saying, oh, but you didn't tell me everything, then arguments. But once you're aware that this is what works for my workmate or for my partner or for my brother or for my sister, the communication is definitely more palatable. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, now, isn't it going to be a little hard to sort of trying to work out with the people that you are dealing with that this one is a D, an I, an S, or C? I suppose it probably works okay when you sort of know those people and you deal with them on a regular basis. You will take your time to do the analysis and then put them into those categories. But is it easy to do? That doesn't it require some level of
Yeah, so it's got a framework because this was developed maybe in 1928 by scientists and behavioral analysts. So they came up with a set of questions between 30 and 40 questions, multiple choice questions. So what you do is everybody gets a unique code that gets sent out to them. So it takes about 15 minutes. There's no right or wrong answer. So depending on the way that you answer the questions, the system will generate 3 graphs. So the 3 graphs, the first graph is what you perceive of yourself, what you think about yourself. Like if I ask you, Clyde, what sort of a person are you? It will give you that graph. Then the second graph is the sort of the personality that you display to people, or how you approach people, the how you present yourself to people. Then the third one is the person that you become when you're under pressure. So you might be smiling and everything, you might be talkative and everything, but do you maintain that sort of posture when you are really under the pump, when you're really, really under pressure? So it will generate all those 3 graphs. Then from those 3 graphs, then we can start working from there.
All right. And is this more sort of a managerial tool, or can an everyday person use it on a regular basis?
So we start with the personal one. The personal one, the questions are different. So the personal one is just how you relate to your peers and all that. But then there's also one for the entrepreneurs as well. So the
Hmm.
questions will be different. So we'll also help you to realize your strengths as an entrepreneur, so that when you actually get into the field, you know exactly what makes you tick, what puts you off, and the things to be aware of when you start to see this happening, or when you see yourself starting to become quiet. It means you're starting to stress a little bit. You need someone to that sort of stuff. So that's where it's quite good, because it starts on a personal level, and we look at you in the business sense. Then there's also one for a team, where you fit in a team, how you can actually work together in a team. Then that way, even if you're looking for a business partner, then if you know yourself and if you know what's in other in the other person that you want trying to take on as a partner, then you can see whether you'll be able to work together or not.
Yeah, I suppose on an entrepreneurial sort of understanding, it could be very useful, given that entrepreneurs have to often use a lot of self-leadership skills. They need to understand what is going on within them as they traverse a variety of settings with all the issues they have to deal with, the solutions they have to provide, the challenges they need to tackle, and all that sort of thing, and the people they need to deal with, because there's a lot of communication and negotiation when you are an entrepreneur. So being familiar with this sort of framework could be quite helpful in understanding what you are dealing with, both from first your own level, and then as you engage with other people. Do you tend to get more interest from entrepreneurs compared to other types of people?
Yeah, definitely. Because entrepreneurs, they are investing their money into a lot of things, so they're a bit more receptive to the system than, or as individuals, you mainly get those that are maybe struggling in their relationships mainly, and they really want to to mend their relationship. But we also get a lot of clientele from churches, those sort of organizations, those social organizations, because that can actually make or break any organization at any level. So yeah, entrepreneurs are pretty receptive to it, because it also helps you as a person to know whether you're really for the business that you're trying to do.
And I suppose beside the entrepreneur, you've mentioned, I suppose any type of people influencer, whether that is a faith leader or even a youth leader or a coach, anybody who has to deal with people on a regular basis, they would greatly benefit from this type of tools as they navigate things with the people that they have to deal with, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. Because we had four guys that went into business just because they were friends. So for about 3 years, the business never took off really, and they were starting to burn out before they even got going. So we stepped in and said, "What's the goal there?" Then we did a disc with them, and they realized that their roles were pretty much back to front. They didn't know who they were, their strengths and their weaknesses, and we found out that got the guy that came out as a C to try and be the guy that goes out to see clients, and that never happened. So it really helped them to know, and we can also help you to get better at your weaknesses, because the brain itself is malleable. You can sort of train it. That's why when you go to school, you learn subjects, you learn stuff, and sticks in your head, and you go with it. So you never ever stop learning. So what we'll do is we'll try and do a bit of panel beating, or just to shift your focus maybe by a few degrees, just for you to see things differently. Then that way it can trigger something in your brain, because sometimes you need something just to stimulate your brain, then you can get going. So yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that. So that brain stimulus is what we also try and help, which is another part that I get into when I'm keynote speaking, with the MINDTUNE. That the sort of stuff that we incorporate into the disc as well, to try and make it a bit more viable and a bit more reliable and resourceful. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's unfortunate that we haven't got a lot of time really to go even a little deeper into this, but I think we will probably organize another opportunity in the future where we can talk more about this.
Yeah.
We've got to go to the next part in this show, so we'll take another break and then we'll be right back. Don't go away. And I want to remind those watching, first, thank you for staying with us and watching. If you have questions, you can actually ask questions. Just write those questions in the comment. We will see them, and if we have enough time, we might get the guest to answer some of those questions. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Thank you very much, Reg. It's really interesting, and we'll talk more about the DISC framework uh, during another show that we promise to organize in the next future. I mean, in the near future. Now, let's go into the leadership aspect of this show. We want to encourage members of the African Australian community to focus on leadership, because leadership is the only thing that makes a difference in terms of the quality of life that we have both individually and collectively. Self leadership helps each and every one of us to be better, to have a vision, a purpose, to have goals that we can go after, and then utilize all the resources we have and we can acquire to be able to achieve those goals. And on a collective level, leadership helps to get people who perhaps would not do well on themselves to be able to do well with the assistance and help of those who maybe have more strength in other areas. Now, just a general question that I usually ask before we go into more details. Reg, what's your view on African leadership, both within the diaspora settings as well as from the continent? What do you think about the quality of leadership?
I think we've got a lot of potential in terms of leadership, but we need to be a bit more dynamic and keep up to speed with the changes that are happening in the world. Myself, as a parent, I've had to invest a lot in my knowledge about what's going on in the world, because the dynamics of the things that are happening in the world is just moving at a very fast pace. So as leaders, we need to stay up to to keep up to scratch with everything. A good example is what happened when COVID hit us.
Hmm.
Not many people were prepared for that, and how many leaders actually adapted like that in a heartbeat. We didn't have a structure of a where to go person, like if we've got a health crisis, who is the go-to person? If we've got a financial crisis, where do we go to? So this is what we lacking. So as Africans, or in both in Africa and in the diaspora, we need to have all these pillars. Like for a building to be strong, it needs four very strong pillars. I'd say five very strong pillars that that the go-to people. If there is a problem, you call this. Like if there's an accident, you call the police, you call the ambulance, and all that. As leaders, as a leader, you need to have that structure around you. Be it you leading a church, you're leading your own people, you're leading a clan, you're leading a business, and all that. You need to have that somewhere ready to go. That if there is a problem, I'll pick my phone up and ring someone. Yourself as a transport operator, in your address book, you've got a mechanic, you've got all that. So I think the leadership is lacking that dynamism of having the 4 or 5 pillars that actually can fortify their position as leaders, the go-to people. So that's why we always found wanting. If there's a financial crisis, we don't even know where to go. If there's a health crisis, where do we go? By the time we realize which way we're going, we've lost half the population. So this is where leadership needs to be a bit more serving the people, not self-serving, not looking at themselves and pumping their chests, but looking at the people and asking for wisdom on how to actually lead the people.
Okay. For me, when I look at our leadership, I have kind of the impression that, for example, in the continent of Africa,
Mhm.
we tend to, I would use the term fabricate, manufacture bad leaders all over the place. Why is that? Why aren't we getting good leaders? Good leaders in Africa are an exception rather than the rules. And even in our diaspora community, we still have that leadership issue. Why aren't we doing as much progress in this area as we should? I know there is some progress, but it's still we still have quite a lot of room to cover. Why aren't we doing a lot better than what we're doing now?
Um, I think the first the most important thing is the leaders are born, they are not made. So I think the stance or the world, how the world perceive it all, they think leaders are made, but leaders are born. And the fact that leaders are born is each leader that we're talking about, they've got a father, they've got a mother, or they're somebody's uncle, they're somebody's brother, they're some, but the way that they've been raised, if the parents didn't realize that you could be a brilliant leader, but nobody has ever noticed that in you. But you've been growing up around people and people don't realize people. Why? Because we had an education system that that graded us A, B's, and C's. Are you an A student? If you're an A student, you're very good academically, but does that translate to being a good leader? I don't think so. Then we've got B students. They're average students. You could get a good leader there, but someone needs to see that there is a leader there and groom them to become a leader, because for everyone to get better at whatever they are, they need a coach of some sort. So coaching is one thing that's been lagging in Africa. You can see even the football teams, they are not coached properly, let alone a leader. And even the leaders that we have, in a political sense, or even in a church or in any organization, there is no succession plan. So we're not grooming anyone. So there's always a vacuum there. If one person goes, who's going to take over? We're looking around. Then, yeah, that's where we're missing it.
Okay, well, we're missing a lot of things. Can you perhaps give me an example or two of a leader within the African context that you admire based on what they achieved?
In the African context, some of them are a bit controversial, but looking at what they did for the people, I think they did more. Like the most popular one is Mandela, the way that he just united the people when he came out, when he formed the Codesa and all that. That's a person that really brought people from different races and cultures together. That was a unifier that said, let's put whatever happened in the past, and let's just work with what we have. Let's move forward with what we have. And yeah, is one person that really sticks out to me.
Okay. All right. We also talk about Black excellence in this show, and I'm just going to ask you a question to name two people. Maybe this is outside of the leadership sort of context, but just in
Yeah.
terms of Black excellence, give me two names of two individual African person or people of African descent that have a sort of, I mean, that you admire because of what they have done and what they have achieved.
Yeah, good question. I sort of like Deion Sanders. He's an American footballer. He won 2 Super Bowls playing for the 49ers and the Cowboys in the American football arena. One thing I like about him, I had a bit of a story about him, which sort of resonated to me and a lot of Africans. That guy, when he was in school, he used to pass through a graveyard, and he was really scared and petrified of the graveyard. So each time he go to the graveyard, he would run as fast as he could, as fast as he. How many of us Africans growing up were scared of the graveyard? I remember very well running very fast past the graveyard. But Deion
Yes.
Sanders actually honed his skills as a footballer by running past the graveyard every day. Imagine 5 days a week going to school and going back home, running as fast as he could to win 2 Super Bowls and sign contract after contract just from running away from the graves. It's something that we, not having facilities, we could actually look at that and think, oh, well, my disadvantage can become my advantage. He didn't have a parent to drive him to school, so he had to walk past the graveyard. Not going to school was not an option. So, but there was an option to run past the
Mm.
graveyard, and that really made him strong and fit. That's why you couldn't catch him on the football field.
Wow. So he turned what was an issue into an advantage.
It's an
Uh,
advantage, yes.
that's good. And what's your next person?
The next one is Patrick Motsepe, the third richest person in South Africa after Johan Rupert and Nick Oppenheimer, the ninth richest person in Africa, the president of CAF, the owner of Mamelodi Sundowns. I don't know how many mining companies he's got. He sits on numerous
Boards.
boards. Yeah.
Okay.
What really struck me about Motsepe, his father was a school teacher, and his father opened a spaza. A spaza, or maybe some people call it a tuck shop. It's a little shop that they open. Usually they at street corners. They're little shop that sell the basic things that we need in a household. This is where Motsipe learned his first. He got his first business acumen from selling in a spaza or in a tuck shop or in a little shop. Then from there, he went to university and studied law and business admin and all that sort of stuff. And the rest is history. Now look at him. But from humble beginnings, from a very small shop to to owning all these mines, which means you just have to work with what you have. You don't have to a lot. You don't need a lot to get started. Just work with what you have. Then the rest is
Okay.
history.
Sure. We'll take a little break and then we'll come back for last section of last segment in this show. Stay with us. All right. We'll talk a little bit about spirituality before we finish. What's your view on African spirituality? How we as a people practice our spirituality and whether that is working for us or not when looking at things from a socioeconomic development perspective.
Um. So spirituality. I myself was brought up mainly as a Christian, which is what pretty much made me who I am at the minute. But there are other there are other spiritual beliefs that exist in the African community with their advantages and disadvantages. The biggest disadvantage is if anything doesn't go right for anyone, they think it's somebody else's fault. So either they're coming at night to do stuff at them, or they're cursing them as they're walking down the road and all that. But not knowing that if success was just achieved like that, then there will be no workers, there will be no poor people, everybody will just be. But then they don't understand that if it doesn't work, maybe you're doing the wrong thing. So you gotta try the other thing. That's the disadvantage of it all. But I'll talk a bit more on the Christianity because that's what I understand a bit more. I believe that the fundamentals of life, everything that we do, is based on the Bible, or at least the way that I see it is based in the Bible. Even that money is spiritual. It's a Bible concept. Even interaction, or when Adam was told it's not good for men to be alone, it mainly used for marriage, but for me in business as well. You can't run business on your own. You need customers, you need everyone, everybody needs to be involved. So we
Mm-hmm.
need to network together. Then even the evolution of language, we can see all the vowels, the vowel sounds A, E, I, O. These are sounds that we borrowed from animals. If you go into the jungle right now, everything is
Mm-hmm.
Then what distinguishes the human being is the consonants, because animals can't make consonant sounds, but we've actually taken the vowel sounds from the animals and incorporated it into our language, which is what networking is all about. So we network amongst each other. It's not good for men to be alone. Then we also network with our environment, which is the animals, which is what gives us the totems and the characteristics and all these strengths that we use and as human beings. So that's how basically I look at it. The other thing about religion is being abused a bit at the minute. So yeah, sad.
Well, why do you think that? Where is that abuse coming from? Is it so some sort of a mercantile, egoistic intention from those who lead the flocks, or and I said I think we could also look at the influence of the what I call the Americanization of the gospel, or that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's that as well. And the main thing is most of us, because of globalization, we're forced to speak English, right? So English is a second language. The Bible itself, I'm talking about the Bible now.
Sorry.
Originally, it was not written in English, so it was translated from Hebrew to English. So how many things were lost in translation? So when we reading these scriptures, a lot of things are lost in translation because certain words that exist in Hebrew do not exist in English, and the interpretation of it all, even the literature itself. Back in the day, in the 70s, they used to teach people English literature, but when we started after the colonization and the independence and all that sort of stuff, we started learning literature in English, not English literature. That means some of the stuff that's written in the English Bibles, we might not really get the true essence of it because it's English literature. So
Mm.
where does that leave us? We have to constantly study English literature so that we can really get the juice and the fat in the scriptures themselves. Otherwise, those Bible scholars are just gonna lead us astray or into a direction that they want to take us.
All right. Well, there are a lot of things that can be said about it. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. In fact, we've pretty much exceeded our allocated time, but we'll finish quickly with a few questions that I want you to answer just by yes or no. This is more about you as a person. Now, what's your favorite African meal?
Sata,
For those who don't know, what is that?
it's a Zimbabwean dish that you eat with your hands. You eat with the meat or with vegetables.
And that's made
Go
out of
to
corn,
maize,
maize.
ground maize. Yeah,
Yeah, ground maize. All right. Now, and who's your best African role model in history?
Emeka Anyoku,
And who's your best African female role model?
Kirsty Coventry.
All right. And if you had to live in another African country except Zimbabwe, which is your country of birth, where else would you live
Mauritius.
and why?
I don't know, maybe because of the French influence. I learned a bit of French in school, and yeah, the one of the teachers that I did the French oral test with was a Mauritian lady. So yeah, she spoke highly about Mauritius, and I just got to like it. And I'm told that people they work 4 days a week, so it's normal for people not to rock up to work on Monday. So who doesn't like that? Every day is a long week. Every weekend is a long weekend.
Every weekend is a long weekend. That is
Yeah.
great.
So
All right. That's great. Okay, that brings us to the end of this show. Thank you again for showing up and sharing with us your story from your country of birth in Zimbabwe to South Africa and Australia, your business activities as auto electrician, a business owner, as well as what you help people with the DISC framework, which helps people to understand others and be able to communicate better and to deal with others in the most harmonious way. All of that is very, very important and very interesting, and we want to thank you for that. We will invite you later for another show. We'll talk more about that discipline because I think a lot of people who've been watching will probably want to know more about that, and we will organize some time later. All right, maybe just one word before you go that you want to leave to people who are watching you today. What would you say to them in one or two words?
please join the Afropreneur Summit in your wherever you are. Please sign up. Let's make
Okay,
this happen.
absolutely. That's great. Yes, Afropreneur Summit is actually organizing summit almost everywhere in Australia, and we're coming to your capital cities. The next one is Brisbane. We've done Adelaide, Brisbane, and then there will be Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, and Hobart. And next year we'll also do Canberra and Darwin. So almost it will cover every capital city in Australia. If you want to register, if you're interested in business or already in business, you don't have to be an entrepreneur as yet. But if there's something that you would like to be able to do at some point in the future, and then join this wonderful group of Afropreneurs who are trying to make things better in terms of lifting ourselves to higher economic ground. So thank you very much, Reg, and enjoy your time in Perth where you are. And we hope to have another opportunity to speak to you in the future.
Au revoir.
Au revoir, monsieur. Merci beaucoup. And for those of you who are watching, please, as we always say, share this video, comment, like it, and if you also have something interesting you want to share, contact us. We'll see if we can give you the opportunity to share that. Until next time, stay connected and stay blessed. Thank you very much.